We never know where life will lead us or what may hinder us along the way. But while every day can feel like one big question mark, it doesn't have to. With the right insights, strategies, and solutions from Western and Southern Financial Group, together we can look ahead to leave the unknown behind.
Made it back in one piece from Champaign, Illinois, but man, it was a fantastic time. I had a fantastic time in Champaign, Illinois. I know you're originally from there, so you had some nostalgia as well, but that was the first time I went, and honestly, a lot of W's on that trip.
Yeah, it was a good kickoff, learning experience in a number of ways, but it was good to be back home, see my high school basketball coach, see some friends, whatnot. It was definitely a good weekend.
Let's start with the highlights here. We're going to give the highlights, the lowlights, and then a final tailgate grade for Champaign, Illinois. Highlights for me.
Okay.
And if you do make the trip to Champaign, the first place you need to go, Cam's. This bar is absolutely incredible. It's 2 stories.
Yeah.
It very cheap alcohol. And it was absolutely loaded because there's only 3 or 4 bars in the city overall.
Yeah, they downsized a lot of the bars. For someone was trying to explain it to me. I don't understand why. So the lines were just out of this world. But Cam's, it used to be, I used to actually know the owner. It moved locations. The new location, in my opinion, is way better. The old location was a piece of shit. The floor was constantly sticky. The new one looks a lot nicer. So if we're going to be rating best restaurant, best bar, and the tailgate scene in every city. And that to me was definitely the best bar in Cincinnati.
Dude, that bar was sweet. So a couple of cool things there. It's 2 stories. They were playing all the hits. And also they had those blue guys and orange guys. So it's cheap vodka with disgusting blue soda. I don't even know.
You couldn't get Tito's if you tried. They didn't even have that.
No.
So,
but then you could ice it out. So why the floor is sticky and why the floor is it was like a swamp is that you can ice out the blue guys is where they hand you the full drink and then you take the ice out and then you chug it.
Put it on the floor.
And you just drop the ice on the floor. Like the entire floor of the bar is water. It was a good time. It was definitely a college bar. Other highlights, El Toro. You got the biggest margarita I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it was $16. I thought it was going to be the jumbo or the monster margarona. It was probably half a fifth of tequila in that. It was I should not have gotten that.
And then the final highlight, Illinois facilities, man. We got to tour the basketball facilities and the football facilities, ran some routes, threw some passes, shot some threes.
Their football facility is top notch. Recently redone. Trying to compete with the big dogs, obviously you got to nowadays. You got to have that. I was impressed by that for sure.
And this is going to be the first year. So they redid it in 2019, the football facilities, and this is going to be their first opportunity to really use it and leverage it because obviously COVID impacted those guys' ability to hang out and stuff. But they got a bowling alley, ping pong. I mean, they had everything. This was a very, very sick facility. They had a putt-putt for the recruits.
Yeah.
A little mini putt-putt that's themed off of Illinois football. We didn't get a chance to get the links going, but it was a good time. Lowlights, could you kick us off with one?
Yeah, I walked back to the hotel from the bar because my watch and my phone had died and I was going to get something to eat and I couldn't get back in because I was in the line was so long. I'm like, I'll just walk back. 2.5 hours later, I ended up back home. It's pretty brutal.
10-mile walk. Thought you had a stress fracture. How's the foot now?
My foot's a lot better. I definitely don't have a stress fracture, but it was fun. It was a terrible decision.
Then I think the other low light for me is just overall the tailgate scene was a bit tame.
It was tame. That's what I was saying. I'm like, the students go to bars there. Mm-hmm. It's a weird scene where before the game, after the game, they were at the bars instead of out in the open drinking their own alcohol, which is like every other place on earth. So
yeah,
that was kind of tame tailgates.
It was definitely an older crowd. Everyone, all the younger people are at the bars prepping for the game, maybe not even going. But the students actually kind of went off.
Yeah.
It was a good time. Final grade here. Okay. Final PFF grade here.
Okay.
But
between Cam's, Black Dog, the barbecue, which was solid. It's no Austin barbecue. It's no KC barbecue.
I give that barbecue like a 6 out of 10.
It was solid enough. And the tailgating, I went 77.4 PFF grade.
Yeah, I think thought, I kept trying to put myself in Cam's, that bar again, in like 81, 82. But when you think about the actual tailgate scene, I think you have to come down to a 77. I think anywhere between 76 and 79 feels good, feels right to me. So 77.4.
You'll have a good time. You'll have a good time.
I would definitely go back. And I think it might be an annual trip. Who knows? I also got to shout out Brett Bielema. Brett Bielema, year one, the Bielema era.
We saw him at the facilities briefly.
Yeah.
Wished him good luck, and that's when we knew Illinois upset was afoot.
Plus 205 on the money line, and they were plus 7. If you didn't take that, I told you 2 weeks ago. Bielema was coming. All right, let's catch an early buzz here. Jaguar, we got tagged in this, like 2 or 3 times. Jaguars coach in the preseason, ripping some smelling salts, which you love to see.
It looked like out of a water bottle, crushed up about 4 or 5 of those, ammonia inhalants, and just went to town. And his reaction was, it's what you have to do. You can't your face can't stay normal for the 1 to 2 seconds after that hits your nostrils if you've never done it.
You have to do some smelling salts. If you're not doing smelling salts before your podcast, what are you even doing? All right, Gardner Minshew to the Eagles for a conditional 6th-round pick.
I'll have the take. Was Gardner Minshew the reason why Trevor Lawrence was struggling first 2 preseason games?
Maybe.
Was bad vibes going out? Or could Trevor Lawrence not handle the competition?
The pressure.
Maybe that's the take. But yeah, I don't see why they had to move on from him, especially for a 6th.
It made no sense. Yeah,
it was 6th. Less than what he got drafted for. And everyone and their mother would agree he outplayed any expectations you would have for a pick that low. Competent enough backup. Those guys go for up to like $10 million on the open market a lot of times. So that to me, it feels like it should have been worth more than that. But yeah, I do. If there was some, I obviously don't know what was going on behind the scenes, but Minshew probably unhappy. He's been on obviously pining for a starting job. So if that wasn't going to be the case there, he probably wanted out.
I think I could see Gardner pushing for it.
Yeah.
But I don't know why the Jags would even do it for just a conditional 6. That doesn't make I said this when it happened. Social media content alone, Gardner Minshew's worth more than a fucking conditional 6th. I don't know, man. I don't think it made a ton of sense for the Jags to do that. Even if Gardner's like, come on, trade me. It's like, no, dude, you're just staying here. You're a backup to Trevor Lawrence. That's life. And honestly, I don't know why he wants to go to Philly anyway. And
yeah, it's like, is he going to usurp Jalen Hurts here real quick? He doesn't have time. I don't know.
And then the Eagles are going to be picking a new quarterback anyway, again, in 2022 or 2023.
He's maybe the good luck Chuck. Maybe the Eagles want him to get the number 1 overall pick. That's how it works.
I like that. Last thing here, Deshaun Watson reportedly a front runner to go, or no, Miami's a front runner to land Deshaun Watson.
That makes, obviously, talent-wise, yes, it makes sense. You would want, with that roster, you would love to have Deshaun Watson's talent. But with his obviously 20-plus sexual assault allegations against him, combined with the fact that Tua actually fucking looks good.
Yeah.
Tua's look good. We haven't really talked about it because we've been focusing on the rookies, but we're going to go through some guys after some non-rookies on the next show. And Tua's looked, I don't want to say night and day compared to last year, but basically the good we saw from him last year has been sustained over 2 games and through the preseason. Obviously, he sat this past weekend against the Bengals. But that's like when you draft a guy number 5 overall, you're thinking he could be Deshaun Watson in time. And from what we've seen from Tua, obviously he's not Deshaun Watson level right now, but like could be in time. So the rush here to move on from him seems a little premature with everything considered, I'll just say.
Do you think there's fire here or just smoke? Because I think a lot of people are, you haven't seen the big dogs talk about it. Obviously the big dogs being like Rapport, Schefter, they're not hinting a ton at Miami being like a legitimate landing spot for him. Do you think there's fire here? Or is it
I think it's just smoke. I would be floored if any of this actually came to fruition here.
Fair enough. I think from Miami's perspective, I don't see why it would be worth the risk. 3 first-round picks is what is apparently being offered without knowing the suspension, the legal, like all. It doesn't make a ton of sense. Like I don't know why any team is willing to take that risk unless they know something we don't about Deshaun Watson's allegations and how the NFL is going to respond. Like, does any team in the NFL know if he's going to be on the exempt list or suspended? Does anyone know anything? And if they don't, I don't see why any trades would be going through. It'll be interesting. There's smoke right now. We'll see if there's fire. Before we get to our top rookie performers, I have to bring up, I talked a little bit about the Illinois money line, plus 205. I bet it in Indiana on the drive to Champaign. The NFL's back on DraftKings. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is giving all new players a can't-miss offer for Week 1. Bet just $1 on any NFL game during the first week of the season and receive $200 in free bets instantly, no matter what. Take advantage of this limited-time offer now. You heard it right. DraftKings is giving all new players $200 in free bets instantly when you place a bet of $1 or more on any Week 1 game. Head to DraftKings Sportsbook app now to check out their great promotions and daily odds boosts. Plus, you can make every game a big game with same-game parlays. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code PFF to receive $200 in free bets when you place $1 on any Week 1 game. That's promo code PFF to get your free $200 in free bets instantly for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 years or older, New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook app for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH-IT. I do feel that DraftKings UI and UX on the way on my phone as we were grinding through the Indiana drive was perfection.
I was so upset because we get to Illinois and I'm like, oh, cool. We can bet in Illinois. Gambling's legal. No, you have to go to a sports book to sign up. So they're like, oh, yeah, just go to St. Louis or East St. Louis real quick and sign up at the DraftKings Sportsbook there. And I'm like, okay, thank you for wasting my time.
Online sports betting, the only way to go. All right, start with your first top performer here. You have Kyle Pitts out on 2 plays.
He finally played 2 plays. He played for the Falcons. And the highlight went all over on Twitter. The little crossing route, dump off, and then he just like blazes past the linebacker, runs through 2 dudes for like 5 more yards. Basically saying, yeah, I'm still Kyle Pitts, the guy you saw at Florida. This is why I was number 4 overall pick. It was just hashtag fun to watch.
Well, why do you think they waited to play him for so long? Are they just trying to preserve him?
I would imagine, yes, because you would still like him to get up to speed and like in-game blocking and those sort of things. But I think his health right now a little more important than those things.
What do you ultimately see? A lot of people are projecting him to have the first 1,000-yard season since Dick Butkus or whatever.
Baby. Yeah, over 1,000 yards. Lock it in. Not lock it in, but it's like Calvin Ridley. He's obviously going to get the bulk of the targets there, but Julio Jones has big shoes, big targets to replace. Mm-hmm. Those, in my opinion, I don't know all of them, but the vast majority will be going to Kyle Pitts, and like even role wise, he can be used. Like use Julio Jones because that's what he did at Florida too.
The next guy on our list is not a big name, not as big of a name as Kyle Pitts, but Royce Newman.
Yes.
Guard for the Green Bay Packers, rookie out of Ole Miss, has been unreal, specifically as a run blocker. Through the preseason so far, a 90.5 PFF run blocking grade. He's played 82 snaps this preseason, has a 91.8 PFF grade, second behind Mac Jones among rookies with 93, with at least 60-plus offensive snaps. This guy's been really good. And you look at this past game against Buffalo, getting to the second level with ease. He looks like he's been playing for a long time. Talk more about Royce Newman.
Well, he has. It looks like he's been playing guard for a long time is the crazy thing because he played mostly tackle at Ole Miss, but was a high-level athlete, tested extremely well coming out. And we were talking about Packers, O-line, maybe taking a step back. We didn't love the Josh Myers pick in round 2. You lose Corey Linsley, David Bakhtiari. Is he going to be healthy week 1? Is he not? Who knows? But that interior could be not as good as it was last year. Well, Royce Newman looks like he's probably going to win one of those guard jobs after this. And he said hasn't allowed to pressure this preseason. Looks like the part as a run blocker for sure. Packers, hats off to them. Their offensive line development has been top-notch over the past decade or so.
I do think that you kicking in him into guard has obviously helped him a ton. Obviously, was never projected to play like tackle, but as an athlete, and you kind of see that athleticism show up specifically as a run blocker. What's your take on this Packers offensive line? You think it's going to be that big of a downgrade now?
I don't think I I think after seeing him, obviously you can expect some sort of progression from an Elgton Jenkins going into year 3. That's what we talk about. Year 3 is the year that guys break out. So, and that would even, if Jenkins improves, he's all pro bowl, probably second best left guard in the NFL sort of level if he does. So, yeah, I think it's still going to be a touch of a step back, but not enough to where it's really going to make a massive impact on what that offense looks like.
Finally, after not a terrible start, but it was definitely, not number 1 overall pick levels of start for Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence showed up, and he dropped some absolute seeds in this game against Dallas. He had a deep ball down the right side to number 13. He had another one in the end zone. That he just makes everything look so fucking easy. Everything's just so smooth, so easy. And I think there were probably some panic buttons being hit around Trevor Lawrence, especially with when he in that game where he got hit like 16 times or whatever it was. This game against backups for the Dallas Cowboys, of course. Backup was already a rough defense in Dallas, but still looked the part for the first time probably this preseason.
Yeah, my favorite throw was not the one that got. Or the 2, I guess, that got pumped out over all social media. The deep ball was gorgeously placed right on the sideline, right where you would want to keep the defender at bay. But it was right towards the end of the first quarter, 1:06 left. He's looking off to his left and senses pressure right up the middle. It's pretty quick pressure right up the middle. And his eyes immediately go back to the middle, dig route before the guy even breaks open. That's the guy we saw at Clemson. The guy who, once he sensed pressure, immediately knew where his dump off was, where his safety valve was, and hitting it perfectly on time. That, like you said, it makes it look easy. And that looked like the guy we saw at Clemson, 93.1 grade in that, or 93.0 grade in that one. It was against Cowboys defense, but it was pretty damn good. Yeah,
he delivers that ball as he's getting hit. He even comes out a little fluttery, but he moved off LaVisca, who's like blanketed on that play. So then going to catch the dig there, that was a very impressive throw. Moving forward on our top rookies here, going to Chris Evans, Bengals running back. There was one short yardage play where I felt like he ran right into the back of his offensive line, but outside of that, there was a handful of really, really impressive plays for Chris Evans.
It's the receiver aspect. I mean, he might be the best. He might be the best rookie receiver, like pure receiving ability at the running back position in this class. And you don't see a lot of guys 5'11", 216 pounds that can win one-on-one. And he's going up against Duke Riley from the slot and just
toasted him.
5 yards of separation, like a massive window for, was that Brandon Allen at the time? I can't remember exactly which quarterback it was for the Bengals at that time, but a ton of separation. And that's what you worry about when Joe Mixon comes off the field, is like, can I use the guy, or Joe Mixon's, give him a breather. Can I use a guy who can replace his full skill set? Do I have to be worried about, is the guy limited in any sort of way? I don't think Chris Evans is going to be. Like, Chris Evans is going to be able to replicate the things Joe Mixon can do in the passing game. And that's why I said he's going to see some touches by the end of the year. I think he's going to have a role in this Bengals offense.
Yeah, that was a seed also from Allen, whoever that was at quarterback. But still, Chris Evans just roasts Duke Riley at the line. He was open instantly. On that play. I thought that was a receiver at first, and then found out it was Chris Evans, split out into the slot. So that was another impressive rookie performance. That's going to cap off the offensive players we have here. We're going to also, like Mike alluded to on the Tuesday episode, or I guess the Wednesday episode, we're going to look at the preseason as a whole and highlight the preseason or 2021 NFL preseason team to look at some of the even beyond the rookies. Netani Muti, by the way, former Fresno State, former PFF legend, looking pretty damn good for the Broncos right now. He's great and well. We'll have to talk about him as well. But defensively, Kwity Paye, oh my gosh, just roasting backup offensive lineman for the Detroit Lions on the right side there. He had a very impressive sack and has played well all preseason.
Yeah, so 32 snaps this preseason for the Colts, 94.2 overall grade so far. I guess so far, that's it. 94.2 overall grade in preseason. Can't do much better on the snaps than he did. Now, obvious caveat, Tyrell Crosby, Dan Skipper, that's who he's going up against for the Detroit Lions this past weekend. Those guys are not starters, but backups play in the NFL at tackle too. You're not going up against David Bakhtiari every game. Yeah. Sometimes David Bakhtiari tears an ACL and you're going up against backup. So that is... You still have to beat up on those guys if you're going to be the elite player. And the fact that Kwity Paye is doing it so easily, seemingly, already, when he was seen by some as a project. Like that was kind of his MO, or he was at least a guy who was.
He wasn't finished.
So he wasn't going to be Nick Bosa. He wasn't going to be even Chase Young, but is looking like goddamn Chase Young right out the gate here, at least in the preseason.
Yeah. Well, Skipper's helping them that too. But while we're on that game, that play, Penei Sewell also beat a bit. It was a deep drop back. Talk about that play. Where's your head out there?
That's one of those that we at PFF talk about that gets you. I was telling you this. When you're on a drop back passing concept, a normal play action, basically the setup spot for a quarterback is supposed to get to between 7 and 8 yards directly behind the center. That is where the offensive line sets up to block. They are looking forward. They're not looking backwards. So when you're sitting at 9 yards, 10 yards as a quarterback, or you're way up in the pocket or way off a hash, and the ball is on the hash, or way off left or right, offensive linemen can't do anything. It is difficult to even protect to that one little minuscule circle, 7 to 8 yards behind the center. It's even more difficult when that circle grows exponentially when the quarterback's moving off that spot. So dropping to 10 yards is just, as an offensive tackle, you are not going to be able to, that's where you're trying to block that guy. When Penei Sewell in that game has a guy riding them to 10 yards right into the quarterback's lap, well, it's like he had no fucking clue the quarterback's supposed to be there. So that one I'm not going to dig into, but he still looks very uncomfortable there on the right side. So, I mean, his set depth is a mess. It just really is.
So far this preseason, the second lowest graded offensive rookie. And a lot of that, I think, speaks to, I think multiple people have said it, including us, just some level of uncomfortability at right tackle so far. All right, Christian Barmore, your guy from the New England Patriots, another top performer from week 3.
Yes, came back in this one. Hasn't played a ton this preseason, played this past week against Philly, or played 2 weeks ago against Philly, and then this past week. Looked like that dude as a pass rusher. Bull rush, a swim move, like he was putting on what we saw at Alabama. Now, in the run game, he's still not your classic two-gapper. He still prefers penetrating. He still will get moved at times. But, man, for a guy that there's so few DTs that can actually impact the passing game. There's so few DTs that have that level of juice and that just kind of the body type to do so. And for him to fall the second round with that, I think the Patriots, their draft is looking like, A++ at the moment. If you're just going based off of preseason returns, they've gotten about as good as anyone in the NFL this year.
We've talked about the Patriots so much because they've been, one of the highest. We've talked about them as one of the biggest improvers this offseason in free agency and in the draft. And I think Mac Jones, highest graded player among all offensive rookies so far this year. There's some talk that he might start week 1. They're still working on that decision. But regardless, I think they do have 2 talented quarterbacks on the roster and a very improved roster with what they added in free agency and in the draft. This is going to be a very competitive AFC East. I've talked about a lot about Dolphins. If they add Deshaun Watson and he plays, it's a different conversation. But even with Tua Tagovailoa, if he sees the improvement that we've seen this preseason, they're going to be a much better team. Josh Allen and the Bills are the favorites. I think the Patriots are obviously a super improved team. And the Jets aren't going to be as big of a doormat as they were last year.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a very competitive AFC East. We'll see if maybe 2 or 3 playoff teams come out of that division.
Yeah,
all right.
we're obviously going to touch on it when we do our divisional previews here over the next week and a half. But the parity right now in some of these divisions I feel like it's almost at an all-time high in terms of just like there's not a lot of teams going into this season with just no hope whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, outside of Texans.
Well, that's what there's not a lot. There are still some. Don't get me wrong.
Those they'll always be there. Yeah. Joshua Kaindoh for the Kansas City Chiefs, 81.2 PFF grade this past week. Also played a ton of snaps, 57 snaps this past week. Had a very impressive, strong performance for a Chiefs defensive line that is looking for more help outside of Chris Jones.
I was gonna say they need edge help in a bad way because they're literally playing Chris Jones on the edge this year to alleviate that because they had no one else, because Frank Clark has not been getting the job done and they have no one else who can actually impact quarterback across from him, kind of one of their Achilles heels last year. Kaindoh, obviously, week 3 preseason, a lot of it came in the 3rd, 4th quarter, but his length, flexibility, like he was consistently resetting the line of scrimmage on the edge in that game this past week against Minnesota. He said played 57 snaps, 3 pressures. He's not going to be that guy right now. I don't think year one you're expecting him to actually be that contributor. You're still going to play Chris Jones off the edge. He's not going to just replace that. But for a guy who can take rotational snaps and grow with his physical tools to see any sort of signs of promise is very encouraging for Chiefs fans.
And lastly, for this list, Jaycee Horn, Carolina Panthers cornerback rookie out of South Carolina, rounding out our top performers list.
Yes, his stat line this preseason reminiscent of kind of what we saw at South Carolina. 5 targets, no catches. Now, some of those because of off-target passes. It's not like he's breaking up all of them. Only really has 1 true pass breakup. That came this past week on kind of a hitch to Chase Claypool, breaks it up at the catch point, but had another one that probably would have been broken up if it was an on-target pass that came downhill on a nice play. So after the hand-wringing when Patrick Surtain had the massive, first preseason game, and it's like, ooh, did we make the wrong decision? Did we not? Jaycee Horn's probably still pretty damn good, too.
Yeah, both those cornerbacks playing well so far this preseason, which is opposite to what we saw from rookies last year. It's nice. What's crazy is when you don't have an offseason full of Zoom classes, you're able to actually...
Yeah, when you play football, usually that helps you play football better.
You might put in the work. All right, moving to our fun to read segment, fun to watch, cake your pants, rookie of the week. Before we do that, going to give a shout out to, of course, our sponsor here, Home Field Apparel, a new partner of the Tailgate Podcast. Home Field Apparel is a premium collegiate clothing brand out of Indianapolis. Incredibly comfortable, officially licensed apparel with vintage college designs. Home Field is in the middle of Big News Saturday, Season 2, where they launch a new school collection every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern for 16 weeks straight. They just recently released Georgia, Wisconsin, and Florida, but this Saturday we've got the Boise State Broncos. I'm wearing the Vols tee right now. I like the crew necks a lot. Home Field Apparel is legendary. If you don't go to Home Field Apparel today and look for your school and get some gear, you're taking an L. And you should do it with the promo code. Promo code PFF to get 15% off your first purchase at homefieldapparel.com. That is promo code PFF for 15% off. Get ready for college football tailgate season. Fun to watch, this is our fun to read here. And this one comes from the courtesy of Pro Football Talk. This is, if you haven't seen this tweet yet, if the Jaguars are telling the truth about a QB controversy between Trevor Lawrence and Gardner Minshew, and it's unclear whether they are, maybe they should have taken Zach Wilson. That was tweeted on August 23rd.
After 2 preseason games. And I am upset. I'm physically hurting reading that. That's what I like to call, you've heard of the thirst traps, where you're looking for thirsty members of whatever sexual preference you're into. That's what I call an engagement trap, where he knows people are going to interact with that. Quote tweets, replies. He knows it's just going to go out there and get talked about because it's just so outlandish. 2 preseason games and you're saying, oh, maybe they should have taken Zach Wilson. And they trade Gardner Minshew for a 6th-round pick like a couple days later. And then Trevor Lawrence lights it on fire, looks better than probably in that game than I've seen any other of the quarterbacks look in any preseason game. So it's like maybe we just chill on sweeping judgments after any preseason games. It's sad. It's a sad state of affairs over there. That was not great. And it's like, and it's not. It doesn't matter if it was. Urban Meyer was just doing a very college approach to the quarterback position, like not naming a starter, and then doing it. Yeah. And I bet you he wouldn't even done it. He wouldn't even name the starter if obviously Brass wasn't pushing to trade Gardner Minshew. Of course they're naming the starter now. It's not going to be whoever. I don't even know who their third stringer is. I don't know who their third stringer is. All right. Now our fun to watch segment. So fun to read is always going to be reading a tweet that's going to be outlandish as Pro Football Talk. Fun to watch is a new segment where we're going to look for latest tweets from notable names saying fun to watch or tweeting out fun to watch. And guess what? PFF Sam is all about it. He's got 3 fun to watch tweets in the last 10 days. This guy is literally enjoying himself better than anyone in football right now. This is exactly who the demo we're going after when we say hashtag fun to watch. It's the non-take. It's incredible. We're just saying fun to watch about a player just means you're watching football, basically. Here we go. August 20th, Sam Monson. Jared Patterson is fun to watch run the ball. Can't disagree with that. You can't disagree with that. August 23rd, Sam Monson.
This one's my favorite. Can I say this one's my favorite?
Yeah.
The high-end plays from Jordan Love are so fun to watch. The highlights are fun to watch.
I do agree. Highlights are fun to watch.
I'm all about it. I honestly think the high-end plays of any player in the NFL are fun to watch.
Yeah. We should find players that aren't that fun to watch.
Yeah. We need
guys who just aren't like, I'd
even
rather they
best.
didn't play football. I'd rather they just sit on the sidelines.
All right, capping this off, last one from Sammy Mons. Tyler Huntley is having a hell of a game so far. Dude's fun to watch. Couldn't agree more.
He did have a hell of a game.
Yeah, he graded really well.
Yeah.
Really, really well. So many people in this one are replying, fun to watch, fun to watch. Everyone's on it. Everyone's on the gig. It's freaking incredible. All jokes aside, Sam, we agree with you. I mean, it's not like we're disagreeing. We definitely agree that he is fun to watch. Make sure you tag us. If you see anyone who's just abusing the fun to watch, make sure you tag us so we can get this on the segment here. I still hate the name of the segment. The Cake Your Pants moment of the week. Please tell me what it was.
It's my favorite moment of the week. I'm sitting on my couch this past Sunday, watching our Bengals. I'd completely forgotten it was a home game. I go to walk my dog, and there's like a zillion people outside my place. I'm like, oh shit, why did I do this? And it was very hot, and I just had to drive 4 hours back from Champaign, Illinois. Not feeling great. And then Reed Sinnett, who, got to be honest, did not watch his tape at San Diego coming out. Did not know who this guy was, truthfully, before a little earlier this year. Throws a Hail Mary to win the game against the Bengals. It was pretty classic Bengals if it were the regular season. It just felt like that deserved, like that's what Cincinnati kind of sports is all about right there. Just losing on a disaster.
Losing to Reed Sinnett on a Hail Mary.
On a 4th and 15 Hail Mary. It was pretty it caked my pants.
Yeah, you had an honorable mention as well.
Yeah, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside had a dope-ass TD. And he may not even make the Eagles, but when I saw that,
it was a scramble drill, and then he turns upfield, and then he mosses the corner, breaks a tackle, goes in the end zone. You love to see it.
That was, if that's all we get from J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, it was worth it.
I'm struggling over here. I don't know what's going on. Rookie of the week, Trevor Lawrence. This is the easiest one. I mean, he had a surgical performance against the Dallas Cowboys. This is what the Jaguars fans wanted. Yeah, they wanted it in week 1, week 2, but this was the week they're like, okay, this is what Trevor Lawrence is, as we kind of said already. Yeah,
he's at 93.0 overall grade. Really, I mean, not a bad play. The one incompletion he had was right in the breadbasket, kind of broken up from behind, but not a play on his tape where it was like, that could get better. No, it's like that was lights out football. Not only 12 dropbacks, but that was lights out football.
Blackout of the week, performance you'd like to forget. It didn't happen in Champaign, but it happened. Nahshon Wright in that same game targeted 8 times, 6 receptions for 110 yards and a touchdown.
He bit on a double move.
Yeah,
about as hard as you can possibly bite on a double move. Missed a tackle as well. Cowboys' 3rd-round corner. He's just going to be a roller coaster like that. He is a unique body type at 6'4", 180 coming out for a cornerback. So he is going to either completely stuff you at the line with that length, or just completely body you, or if you get any separation from him at all off the line of scrimmage, he's toast, because he just does not have. He had one of the weirdest athletic profiles you'll ever see, with just the worst 10 split for a cornerback in our database history for a draft cornerback. It was the guy has a odd body type. I just don't see how I don't see how you can keep him out. He's too limited in scope to where there's not a role that's going to completely hide all of his sort of weaknesses.
And in the honorary blackout, unfortunate, but Jamar Chase, another drop.
Dude, where is his head at right now? I mean, just mentally, he's dropped his last 4 passes. Dropped 3 a couple weeks ago, 1, and it was a bubble screen. It was not it was you standing in front of a jugs machine and letting it clang off your hands.
And I think they called that play to give him an easy
just a little confidence.
Didn't they not?
Yeah, it was a very first drive. It was from Joe Burrow, who played his first snaps of the preseason. It was here you go, buddy. Here's a layup. It was a layup line that they just gave him, and he blows it. It was pretty tough.
God damn it.
It was hashtag not fun to watch.
That's terrible to watch. I don't know what do you obviously like. Okay, where are you at on the panic button?
I'm not at all.
No, not at all.
So his drop rate for his career at LSU was like 8%. That's not. It's not. He never had. He was not Larry Fitzgerald. That's not how he was billed.
Yeah.
Coming out, no one's like, oh, he's never going to drop a pass. But he is quickly. He's in the quicksand. He's in the mix. I think I tweeted out. He's me standing over a 3-foot putt, and it's because like the confidence is just all time low. But that can very rapidly change with one big game.
And if you caught that bubble screen, took it to the house, I think we'd be fine.
Yeah, and it's again important to remember. At this time last year, Justin Jefferson was not a starter. Justin Herbert was not a starter. There were guys who had very, very average to below average preseasons or unencouraging preseasons that then went on to have great rookie years. So panic buttons happen week 8, week 9. That's when you can hit the panic button on like a Jeffrey Okudah or whatnot and be like, oh shit, this might not be great. But don't hit any right now.
One route, one target, one drop. You hate to see it from Ja'Marr Chase. That's going to do it for this portion of the show. Now we're going to jump to an interview with Arkansas wide receiver Treylonn Burks. Now joining the Tailgate Podcast is current Arkansas wide receiver Treylonn Burks. Treylonn, it is great to have you on the show. I think everyone in the country expects big things from you this season. You're one of the best wide receivers returning to college football in 2021. Really appreciate your time.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you.
Where I'd really like to start is honestly, a lot of people talk about, you're big, 6'3", 225. Last year you were talking to me a little bit earlier. You played last year at what, 6'3", 230. You dropped 5. Now you're at a nice mean 225. What went into that decision to kind of lose some of that weight? And what are you seeing now that you are playing at that weight? Some more explosives, some more, more quicks. How's that all going?
Honestly, a couple of my teammates was just, they all nagged on me like, dude, you're heavy, you're a little heavy and all this. Like that. And I was just like, you know what, they helped me lose weight. Strength staff helped me lose weight. So, I said, 225 would be a good range to play at. And I feel good at it.
Any changes in the diet? I remember talking to Joe Tryon last year, the Washington Edge, who changed his diet a ton to drop weight. Did you just do more weight room or was there a diet change as well?
Yeah, I really just cut down on what I was eating, like smaller proportions of what I was eating, and just always kept working out, and it dropped for me.
The other thing I find interesting about your role at Arkansas is you do play this kind of big slot role at Arkansas, even though you have the physical tools, the explosiveness, the size to dominate on the outside against outside corners, especially press man. Arkansas loves to use you in the slot. Do you imagine? Well, first, talk to me about how much you like playing in that role and what advantages it gives you, and then we'll kind of get into maybe playing more on the outside and if you have plans to do that in 2021.
Honestly, I just play wherever they put me, and I just, I give it my best. And just from playing that position, it's a lot of, advantages that I have on certain linebackers and nickelbacks. And obviously it's my speed, my height, my weight, and, it just helps me out, helps my team out also.
And do you expect to kind of play a similar role this season? I think I saw less than 80 snaps on the outside this past season or the past few seasons. Do you plan to play a little bit more on the outside? What have coaches told you?
Well, some stuff I can't say. Just
fair enough.
Season, so I guess y'all get to see. So I'm not gonna spoil it, but it's gonna be a good year. That's all I can say for the Arkansas Razorbacks.
I'm sure everyone's looking forward to seeing it for sure. What position? I didn't even look into this, but what position did you play in high school? Did you play both sides of the ball? Was it just receiver? What was your utilization like in high school?
Honestly, I really played everywhere. I was the punter, the quarterback here and there. Running back, I played outside linebacker, safety some, so it was really everywhere.
I'll say this, man. I think the best players in college football play everything in high school, so that does not surprise me. Going specific to this upcoming season, Arkansas is obviously making a decent transition away from Felipe Franks to Jefferson here. What's your current relationship with the new quarterback under center there at Arkansas?
Well, so a lot of people don't know, but when we first got here, KJ and I, we were roommates. The school put us together in the dorms, and so we established that relationship real quick. That's like my blood brother now, honestly. And, it really didn't change from him from Felipe. It was just the experience that Felipe had upon him. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, that was a good thing to have Franks. I love that dude too. But, KJ, that's my dog right there. So, we're going to ball out.
Working with him this offseason as you prepare, for 2021, what have been some of the key differences or even improvements you've seen from KJ Jefferson over the course of his Arkansas career? And then also, what are some of the key differences between his play style, his, approach, his philosophy to Felipe Franks?
Honestly, KJ, he's become a big leader. He stepped up to that role knowing that he's the number one quarterback for us. And so, that's good on that part. And then just the philosophy with him and Franks, you could just watch how KJ would watch, Frank's practice and, how he went about his business and practice, how he threw the ball, like what he did to better himself. And you can tell that KJ mentored that. And now, he's doing the same thing that Franks did here. And so, that was just a big jump in that our team has seen so far.
Obviously, practicing with Jefferson has to be great, but also going against that loaded Arkansas secondary, a ton of talent at Arkansas, specifically at defensive back. One of my favorites. I know you're one of my favorites to watch too, Treylon, but honestly, you turn on that Arkansas tape, Jalen Catalon plays like a bat out of hell. How much does that show up in practice? What is he like on and off the field?
Yeah, honestly, I ain't gonna lie to you, all of them like a bat out of hell. Going across the middle, you got to watch out for Grant Morgan, Bummer Pool, Greg, I forget his last name every time. Yeah, Greg Brooks, Buster Brown, Joe Fouché, all of them, but Catalon, it's a different vibe just to see how he'll hit somebody in the game and knock them out cold, So yeah, it's like sometimes when I go across the middle, I'm always like, all right, where the hell is Catalon at, So stand on my P's and Q's.
I think you're not the only receiver that thinks that, man. That guy hits hard. He comes over the middle. He's gonna be one of it's a really good safety group coming into college football. He's another one of those big pieces there. In your career, maybe at Arkansas or against other teams, who would you say, obviously playing in the SEC, you go against a lot of tough cornerbacks. Who is the toughest or maybe one of the toughest matchups you've ever had?
Honestly, to be honest with you, I treat every game like, that's the best nickel or cornerback I'm fixing to go against. So I really don't treat him no different. I go out there with the perspective of, he's a baller, I'm a baller. It's just the best is gonna win. You know what I mean? So that's just how I treat it.
For my next question here, I think I know what your answer is going to be after that. But is there a matchup or a game or a defense you're looking to go against the most? Is there something one of these games on the schedule you're most excited to go to or play in this year?
Honestly, I'm just the type of person, I just take a game at a time.
Yeah.
But, I just treat them all the same.
I mean, the biggest difference, honestly, is going to be just how loaded these stadiums are going to be. You're going to be on the road with rowdy fans after, a year off of that. And also, obviously, at Arkansas, home fans back. That's going to be a treat to see. Now, looking at other, receivers in college football, in the SEC and college football in general, you're compared among the best. But what do you feel, from a strengths perspective, separates you from some of these other big names in college football?
Honestly, being able to run as fast as I can with the size that I have, the weight that I'm running with, and honestly playing in the best conference, the SEC. So, that's how I separate myself from it.
The size, the rare size athleticism combination, and also iron sharpens iron in the SEC. Couldn't agree more. Last one for you, and I really appreciate the time. These don't have to be statistical. These can be as specific as you want, but what are your biggest goals as you approach this 2021 season? What are your goals, and what are you kind of putting on your notes app or whatever to try and hit this year?
Honestly, just to, for us, I talk as I'm talking for all my teammates. So I just, us stay together, go out, play each game one weekend at a time, and, just be great.
Hell yeah, man. I really appreciate it. Like I said, thank you so much for the time and best of luck this season.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
Woo. We are back. Treylonn Burks was awesome. He is going to be a fun to watch player this season for Arkansas. I'm super excited to see where he ends up. This wide receiver class isn't what it was in 2020, but man, it's got some interesting names. I think Burks is one of them, one of the bigger wide receivers in this class as well. Now down to a mean 225. We're gonna do, when we get back on Tuesday, when we record on Tuesday, we're gonna go over our all preseason team for 2021. Talk about some of the just guys beyond the rookies who have played really well this preseason. Also gonna continue to churn out these interviews, man. We got Justin Wilcox from Cal coming on. A lot of exciting stuff here on Tailgate. Until next time, Austin Gayle, Mike Renner, Max Chadwick, Mike Quinn. tailgate.